universities, and also be able to find jobs there locally if you have to support yourself. So these are a lot of other considerations as well that you need to take into account while deciding to go for a global MBA. Now, I can see that there are a couple of questions that have already come about. So, when to start preparing for MBA if one wants to do it right after graduation? So, there is no ideal answer to this. If you want to do it right after graduation, you could take and you could start taking like if you want to go for training or if you want to go for coaching, you could join an institute or you could start self preparation. The ideal time to do that would be somewhere around the you can say the end of second year if it's a 3-year course, which was the case in my example. I was a three-year BCom honors graduate from SRCC. So for me, I began preparing at the end of second year. But if you are, say, an engineering graduate or somebody who's in their final year of CA training, you can probably start preparing for CAT in the penultimate year, which is just the year before you eventually graduate. So the ideal time is 9 to 12 months for preparation, regardless of whether you join a coaching institute or start doing self-preparation. And you could also decide to take a break after graduation and prepare for a couple of months and then go for giving the exam. Now it also depends on, so the calendars for domestic versus foreign exams differ a lot. So you would have different slots for exams like GMAT. I think, if I'm not wrong, you can take GMAT 3 to 4 times a year. There are different slots that are given to you by the GMAT Institute. So I think it would be better to seek consultation from some of these popular GMAT coaching institutes on when to approach the exam, so that you can fill in your applications for a global MBA right in time, so that you can join the fall semester or the spring semester. So that would be the answer to this question. Okay, what was the next question? Do you think self-preparation would be enough for us to meet the requirements of CAT or GMAT? Absolutely. The prerequisites to acing any exam are being thorough with the structure of the exam and being able to manage time well during the exam. So you must be aware of what kind of a pattern does CAT or GMAT follow, which of the sections in these respective exams need to be given more weightage, and you need to align your strengths to these different sections to understand where you need to devote your time towards preparation. So for instance, in case of CAT, there are 3 sections: verbal ability, quant, and DILR, which is data interpretation and logical reasoning. Now, I knew for a fact that VA is one of my stronger areas and quant happens to be one of my significantly weaker areas compared to the other two. So I knew for a fact that I need to spend more time preparing for quant and then DILR followed by VA. So I think it's important to know which areas you're strong in, which areas you need more improvement in, and accordingly time your preparation. And with that, and also having access to a good amount of material, you have a lot of good books for preparing for both CAT as well as GMAT, and a lot of online material is available these days, and there are a lot of online free classes as well that you can enroll for. So with all of this resource at your disposal, I think it would be easy to go for self-preparation to meet the requirements of CAT as well as GMAT. There was one more question I think that I probably skipped, which was, is it better to do an MBA right after graduation or after having work ex of 1 to 2 years? Now, the answer to this depends on where you want to do your MBA from. If you want to do your MBA abroad, work experience is mandatory, and in fact, I think there is a cap of minimum 3 to 4 years of work experience for most MBA degrees abroad. There will be some institutes like HEC Paris which may allow you to do MBA without work experience, but then the name of that degree would be Masters in Management and not MBA, or it would be a specialization course instead of a generalized MBA course. So it's important for you to also know where does your global MBA stand in terms of rankings and in terms of parity, because the standards what should I say? The standards of recognition would differ across countries. What may be MBA in India may not be at par with global MBA. If you want to do MBA in India, what I have generally seen based on my experience in IIMs is that people with less work experience also have a great upper hand in terms of getting good job placements and offers at leading B schools. So work experience is not a very significant factor towards both admissions as well as placements. The overall look at your profile and your resume would eventually decide whether too much of work experience is beneficial or not. But having said that, 2 years and maximum 3 years of work experience is considered ideal at Indian B schools. Beyond that, it may become a problem to secure jobs at a lot of consulting firms as well as investment banking firms. So it's important to know how much of work experience is too much of work experience, according to most Indian and global firms which recruit at Indian B schools. Now, the next question is, what according to you are the best universities or countries if one wants to pursue MBA abroad? Okay, what according to me? So this is something that I'll be saying from my personal experience, my own experience. I think it's best to do an MBA from the likes of the Ivy League B schools, which is Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Wharton, and so on. These are the ones that will give you exposure to some of the best recruiters and some of the best peer groups that are available across the world. But apart from these, there are a lot of local institutes present across Europe and Scandinavian countries as well, which may be able to offer you a lot of scholarships. So making the decision to do an MBA abroad will depend on a lot of factors. It will depend on your faculty, your ability to seek for these B schools.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, ma'am, but seat number 7, can you please mute your mic? Thank you.
Shall I continue?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
So, a decision to do an MBA abroad would depend on a lot of factors like your ability to afford the MBA. For instance, an MBA from a top B school in India would cost you somewhere around 20 to 25 lakhs and sometimes even more than that. For instance, an MBA at ISB is somewhere along would cost you somewhere around 30 to 35 lakhs for 1 year of MBA. And if you look at global MBAs, you will realize that would probably cost you even more, somewhere along the lines of 70 lakhs to a crore. So your ability to afford should be very important. Your ability to fetch scholarships both from India as well as from abroad is very important to decide whether or not you will be able to afford your MBA abroad. And then you should also look at what kind of placement opportunities are available abroad and how easily are you able to pay back loans, if any, that you would be taking for your education abroad. So based on these criteria, I think the choice of a global MBA would differ across different people. For me, it would still probably be some of the Ivy League schools, but it may be different for different people depending on various other factors. So just keep in mind these factors while taking a call. And having said that, a global MBA gives you a lot of more learning opportunities and a lot of more exposure, because you get to meet people from different nationalities, get to work across international teams and groups, and it adds more to your diverse learning experience. So that would definitely give you an edge wherever you go, even to fetch jobs. Even if you want to return back to India, a global MBA would definitely give you an edge. So just keep in mind these factors while taking a call. Apart from that, I think I eventually decided to go for an Indian MBA. So I think you should definitely also reach out to some of these coaching institutes and some of other people who've done foreign MBAs to be able to take a call on whether you want to do an MBA abroad or continue with doing an MBA in India. Okay, the next question is from where to know the genuine placement scenario. Like when I see on Glassdoor or their websites, everyone shows good placements, but on platforms like LinkedIn, there are numerous people seeking jobs and the picture is not rosy. Okay, so right now the scenario is pretty bleak because also there is a crisis going on, and that might overpaint the picture of gloominess when you see posts on LinkedIn, because these days undoubtedly a lot of people are seeking jobs, a lot of people are losing out on their offers, and LinkedIn may seem like a gloomy place when it comes to seeing a real picture of the placement scenario. But if you want a genuine if you want to know the genuine placement scenario, I think it's ideal to reach out to people studying in these individual institutes. So for instance, if somebody wants to know what is the scenario in for placements in IIMs, they should reach out to people in IIM studying in those IIMs, and I think it would be even better if you can reach out to somebody who is a placement representative. They can give you a better and a cleaner picture than that what is painted by some of these media houses. So you would be able to know what kind of placements and how many good placements have gone to students in these respective institutes. That would be the best way to know the genuine placement scenario. Apart from that, you can also reach out to some of the alumni from these B schools who are already placed in the industry to know how has the placement scenario changed over time. Say for instance, somebody who's working in Tatas or Mahindras, or somebody who's working in a brand management role in P&G, you can reach out to these people who have graduated from B schools to find out what kind of opportunities were available back when they were studying and how has that scenario changed over time. So that would be, in my view, the best way to get to know the genuine placement scenario. And yes, I agree that right now the number of people whom you see seeking jobs on LinkedIn may be also over exacerbated by the crisis that is currently going on, but don't take that as or just don't take that as an impression of a bad placement scenario in B schools, because most B schools generally have a decently good enough placement scenario, especially when it comes to placements in some of the top IIMs in India. Okay, what's the next question? The next question is, which option is better, going abroad or studying in India, when the Indian colleges also almost charge the same fees? So I think I mentioned one of the points before, but I'd like to repeat that. You should not just look at the fee, but also look at how will you be able to support yourself whether you study in India or go abroad. For this, you need to be aware of certain economic metrics when you go globally. You need to be aware of what kind of purchasing power parity would hold in that respective country. So if you want to study in Singapore or if you want to study in the US, you must be able to know what standard of living and what cost of living would entail study at that place. How would you be able to support yourself there? Because even after looking at the tuition fee, you may see that the tuition fee may pretty much be the same across India and abroad, but you may have to spend extra on cost of living and other aspects, and for that you will probably have to also look at side employment or alternative employment in whichever country you decide to do your MBA. So looking at those factors becomes quintessential while deciding whether you want to study in India or abroad. Secondly, the placement scenario in India has been improving over the past few years, given that we are a country which is blessed with a very strong demographic dividend. You will see that a lot of the top recruiters like McKinsey, Bain, BCG and so on, some of these leading consulting firms and some of the leading investment banking firms are looking to hire candidates from India and are hiring in large numbers in India. If you look at that and compare that to a lot of global B schools, you'll realize that the placement scenario is not as rosy abroad as it is in India. So keep that in mind while taking a call on whether an MBA in India is better than an MBA abroad. Because there are a lot of people I know who are currently studying in some of the IIMs but who've done their graduation abroad. They enter through the likes of a GMAT route. They may have done their graduation from the US or Singapore or Indonesia or other countries, but they decide to do their MBA from India. And the reason why they do that is because they feel that the employment prospects are better in India than abroad. So that being said, I feel that even if the fee that is charged by Indian institutes is at par with global institutes, the employment prospects are better and your ability to pay back your loans or whatever financial expenses you incur for supporting your higher education are much better in India than abroad. The next question is ISB Hyderabad better than IIMs? Seeing which institute is better than which may be a little difficult for me, because ISB Hyderabad has its own set of special features or traits in terms of its MBA. Its MBA is more aligned to the likes of a global MBA, and ISB Hyderabad requires you to have a minimum work experience before joining. So you will not see any freshers in their cohort. You will see only people coming with work experience. In ISB Hyderabad, the curriculum is curtailed. There is just a 1-year MBA at ISB Hyderabad. The fee is a bit more than IIMs, but the number of international recruitments are also higher at ISB. And I think if you were to look at some of the top recruiters, like the leading consulting and investment banking firms, you'll see that they hire more from ISB than from the IIMs. So that is also because of the work experience bias that they probably get from ISB. But apart from that, there are a lot of differences in the pedagogy that is used at ISB Hyderabad versus the IIMs. So I can't say which is better, but you just need to put down these points and compare what fits you the most. Because at IIMs, a lot of the academia is case driven plus lecture driven, whereas in ISB, it's mostly case driven. So if you were to make comparisons between these subtle nuances, you'll be able to arrive at what is more suitable for you rather than what is generally better. The next question is, which MBA specialization is best for consulting? There is no specialization that consulting firms look for. Although it's good to have a specialization, it would never go in anybody's disadvantage. But consulting firms look for more holistic personalities while recruiting people. They look for somebody who is able to look at a problem more holistically and from multiple angles. So there is no specific specialization that they look for, at least at the recruitment stage. So you can go for a basket of courses while pursuing your MBA, both from finance, from strategy, from operations, from OBHR, and so on. And nitpick according to your own strengths and expertise, whatever suits you the most, and try to build along those lines as you move into a consulting sphere. So for instance, while going for consulting, if you feel that strategy and OB and HR are your strengths, you should probably build your MBA along these lines, and also have a few more of the courses apart from these, so that you are at least aware of what is beyond these courses. What is the trend happening in technology? What are the trends in finance, and so on? So the answer to this is that there is no specific specialization that consulting firms look for. What is the scope for a general MBA and that of an executive MBA? The scope of a general MBA and an executive MBA. Okay. So the difference between a general MBA and an executive MBA is that an executive MBA is for people who have a certain amount of work experience already. So if you look at the EPGP program in IIM Bangalore, the executive postgraduate program, it looks only for people who have a minimum of 5 years of work experience. So the cohort that you see would already be well placed and would comprise of people who are, say, in senior managerial positions in a lot of firms, who have decided to do an MBA to make a career switch or to make a leadership switch in their respective firms. On the other hand, a general MBA would comprise of both people with a lot of work experience and people who are freshers, who do not have work experience. So the only difference between an executive MBA and a general MBA would be the kind of peer groups that you see in these respective programs. Apart from that, in case of a general MBA as well as an executive MBA, you will have exposure to both general courses as well as specialized courses. For instance, having interacted with people in the executive program at IIM Bangalore, I know that they also go through the same accounting, finance, operations, and OBHR courses as well as strategy courses that people in general MBA do. The difference might also come in terms of the fact that an executive program is relatively shorter, because the people who have come for an executive MBA might want to go back into the workforce or join their previous organization as soon as possible. So you get to study the same amount that you study in a general MBA, but in a shorter time frame. I think that's pretty much the only difference between a general MBA and an executive MBA. How to fund your MBA at an Ivy League college? So you get access to various scholarships, both by the Indian government as well as the universities and the institutes themselves. I am not really well versed with this, so I would advise you to probably sign up for counseling with GMAT Coaching Institute, or reach out to some of the alumnus at the specific Ivy schools that you want to join, because different Ivy League schools have their own policies in terms of funding scholarships or in terms of providing you concessions with fee. Apart from that, you will obviously be getting access to a lot of educational loans and support from banks, both globally as well as in India. It would depend, of course, on which institute you're joining, but there is a lot of financial support available for higher education, both in India as well as abroad. So that is again a way to fund your MBA at an Ivy League college. And if you're starting after certain number of years of work experience, then you might be able to pool in your own resources as well to fund your MBA at an Ivy League college. But you should keep in mind that studying at an Ivy League college would require you to have a great amount of financial strength or the ability to pay back loans as soon as possible, because the fee entailment at an Ivy League school is much more as compared to say an institute in India. But the opportunities that you get at an Ivy League school are also as lucrative as in India. So you should look at the cost benefit analysis of that decision while deciding to either self-fund your MBA or go for an educational loan or scholarship. Now, what does an MBA equip you with apart from the UG studies? Are the opportunity costs justified? Apart from UG studies, so UG studies would differ for different people. I come from a commerce background, so I did have exposure to a lot of the courses that I did in MBA. But I also met a lot of people who were from engineering background, who were from the medical practice, or who were from a legal background. And they did not have exposure to a lot of the subjects that you study in MBA curriculum, like finance, accounting, organizational behavior and human resource development, and strategy courses. So there are a lot of additional skills that an MBA equips you apart from UG studies, depending on what you have graduated in. Secondly, the way the pedagogy works in these schools is that there is a holistic mixture of case-based learning and lecture-based learning. The proportion would differ across different institutes, different IIMs, but the general norm is that you don't just study. You learn from case problems and you study from cases from leading global institutes as well as Indian conglomerates. So, getting to analyze a problem real time and understanding the causality as well as what could have been possible solutions and alternatives is something that is as a skill equipped in you by MBA, which may not be the case at an undergraduate level. Of course, as education is evolving, you would see a lot of this being reflected at the undergraduate level as well. But problem solving is one of the most important skills that an MBA equips you with. And are the opportunity costs justified? So you must not just look at the opportunity cost in terms of the academia, but you must also look at the opportunity costs in terms of the other exposure that an MBA degree offers you with. Exposure in terms of recruitment opportunities, exposure in terms of well-rounded network and a well-rounded peer group, and also the kind of the faculty you meet, the kind of alumni exposure you get. These are various other factors that you should also look at while deciding to do an MBA and comparing the opportunity cost for going for a job versus going for an MBA. So opportunity cost must not just be looked at from just an academic perspective. Now, is this the right time to go for MBA after this ongoing crisis? Okay, I am not sure if I can answer this, but I think that the demand for MBA will, in my view, given that I've already mentioned that an MBA as a degree, it equips you with problem-solving skills and the ability to analyze problems more and more holistically. After this ongoing crisis, I think MBA will definitely be something that will be in vogue, will be in demand, at least in a lot of the top recruiting firms globally, because they would still be looking at people who are well equipped in all disciplines, be it finance, OBHR, strategy, operations, supply chain, and so on. Having said that, after the ongoing crisis, you should not just look at MBA as a degree, but also look at it as a prospective career option or a career gateway. So you must look at what's the global placement scenario after the ongoing crisis settles down, at least a bit. What kind of recruitment opportunities would be left? What kind of skills would be more in vogue, especially given that right now you see a lot of businesses operating work from home. You see a lot of businesses being more tech driven. What would be the scenario change in terms of the new global skills that would be looked at, not just in B schools but also by the recruiters at these respective B schools, and then take a call on whether MBA would still be relevant or not. So I think right now I may not be able to answer this question really well. I think we should wait for this crisis to settle down a little bit to see how the global scenario in terms of workplace skill requirements as well as recruiter requirements, how they change, and accordingly decide whether MBA would be the right degree to go for, and if yes, how would the scope of MBA as a degree itself change? Due to the COVID-19 situation, what do you suggest currently? I think I try to answer as much as possible, but given that the crisis right now is not settling down, let's wait for it a bit more and just see how the workplace scenario shifts a bit before probably putting or penning down a final answer to this question. Okay, so the next question is, do you think there is a good value in India for a foreign MBA? Like if I do MBA from abroad and then return to India for working, will I be getting that worth? So I know of a lot of instances where people who have gone abroad for an MBA have come back and do definitely get good opportunities in India, but that cannot be said as a given because they would still be competing with a lot of graduates from the leading Indian business schools. So yes, undoubtedly, a lot of workplaces, a lot of global firms will have that bias towards global MBAs, but at the same time, the global workforce would be competing with the Indian workforce, which would be more equipped with the situation at hand in Indian organizations. So it may not be extremely valuable for a foreign MBA or an MBA candidate who's returned from abroad to join any Indian firm. They must look for what kind of global roles would merit or would probably reward global MBAs more than Indian MBAs. So a lot of organizations, especially along the lines of say UN or the World Bank or a lot of philanthropic organizations like BMGF and so on, they look for people with global MBAs. They look for people who graduated from the likes of Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, and so on. So a foreign MBA might be able to really well cater to roles in these respective organizations. But if you look at people who are recruited at some of the leading Indian conglomerates like the Mahindras or TAS, you would see that they would probably give more preference to people who have graduated from an Indian B school as compared to a global B school. So the value addition for a foreign MBA in India would depend on what kind of a target organization are you looking to work with. And after doing an MBA, joining organizations may not be the only career opportunity. You could even go for academia, you could go for teaching roles, in which case you would definitely have an upper edge in joining some of the leading B schools in India as faculty members, because you would be bringing with you a vast depth of expertise in a lot of subjects from a global perspective and not just from an Indian perspective. So I'm not sure if I've answered this question well or not, but your decision to go for a foreign MBA and come back to India should be based on what is the organization you eventually decide to work for, or to put it in better words, what kind of a profession do you seek to pursue once you do that for an MBA. Okay. So the next question is, as many people from abroad returned back to India and might stay here for longer, so there may be increase in competition here and companies may prefer them first with the level of their experience. What's your take on this? So this may not be true, this observation. Indeed, a lot of people have returned back from abroad to India and they may stay here for long. But companies would not just blindly look at global experience. So global experience does help a lot, but is not the only thing that companies pursue. Companies look for a lot of other things in your resume, and sometimes there are certain roles that require you to have had more experience in the country than outside the country. So even if there is a bias towards people returning from abroad, that might be the case in certain specific roles, but that may not hold true everywhere, because there are a lot of jobs, a lot of occupations where familiarity with the Indian scenario is much more important than having had a study experience or a work experience abroad. How is life after earning an MBA from a top Indian B school? Okay, so I've just graduated from IIM Bangalore. So right now I may not be able to answer this question because I think I need to have at least 1 or 2 years of experience after an MBA to be able to say how life is after earning an MBA from a top Indian business school. But if I were to give you just like an immediate stance or an immediate perspective on this, after graduating from a top Indian business school, you definitely catch the eye of a lot of recruiters. You were definitely deemed as some of the best minds of the country. After earning an MBA from a top Indian business school, you definitely get more credibility on your resume, as somebody who's gone through a very grueling 2-year MBA process, because a B school experience is one of the most grueling experiences somebody can go through, both in terms of academia and in terms of the placement scenario, and having to balance both at the same time. So you definitely get more credibility in the market, you definitely get more credibility in the placement scenario, and you definitely get more respect from recruiters. But apart from that, I think it's you individually and the skills that you bring to the table that would matter, even if you have an MBA from a top Indian business school. So the life after earning an MBA from a top Indian business school does not change very drastically. You still have to prove your mettle, you still have to have your set of skills and expertise in whichever field you're working in. And you will still have to prove at each and every point of time your own expertise and your own worth. So, indeed, life becomes a little easier after getting an MBA from a top Indian business school, but hard work never stops. You still have to work as hard as you were working before. I studied that MBA curriculum is formulated with a scientific approach to business education, more so based on contemporary business environment. Can one's MBA ever become obsolete? Okay. So the relevance of an MBA degree would, in my view, would stay forever. However, with changing times, the curriculum that is vested in an MBA degree might keep evolving. So there you some disturbance. So yeah, what I was answering is that can MBA ever become obsolete? MBA as a degree might become obsolete, but the curriculum that would be entailed in a B school degree would keep changing over time. And there used to be a time when probably strategy held more importance than say courses like finance and courses like technology. But with changing times and changing workplace requirements, there are other spheres and other domains of business that may gain more edge and more weightage in B school curriculum. So an MBA might not become obsolete, but yes, there are certain fields that may become more important from an MBA perspective. I'm not sure if I was able to answer this question well or not. Jatin, are you still online?
Yes, I'm listening to every one of your answers, and they're really insightful. That actually was one of my questions.
Okay. Not sure if I was able to answer it well, but I think I just tried my best.
I get the idea.
So I'll just take a moment's break. If there are any more questions, can you just keep posting them on the chat that's going on? I'll just take a moment.
Okay, definitely. So guys, Deepika has taken a little break. If you have any questions, we'll welcome all of them down below in the comment section, and we'll try to accommodate as many as possible in the 10 minutes that remain. It has been a great session so far, and I thank Deepika for the time that she had taken out of her schedule to talk to all of us. I definitely did not want this to be a monologue, but since this session was deeply insightful, I myself was listening all the while and did not interject at any instant. So let's just wait for a couple of minutes for Deepika to come back, and she'll resume as soon as possible. Also, one of the things that I'd like to mention is the people. Okay. Go on.
No, finish what you were saying, Jatin.
So I was just telling the people sitting on the seats to, if you're done taking questions from the comments down below, they're free to interact.
Okay. So I think there are a few more questions. I'll just go through them for a moment and see what I can answer based on my own experience. How should I utilize my time during quarantine if I have to give CAT next year? Okay. I think given that in quarantine circumstances you have to stay at home for most of the time, it would be best to enroll for some of these online coaching classes. You have a lot of online classes on apps like Byju's. Byju's is a very helpful app which would have a lot of exercises, a lot of tests, a lot of mock papers for both CAT as well as GMAT, if I'm not wrong. So you can go through some of the material that's already available online to prepare for CAT. I think at this point of time, if you want to give CAT next year, it would be great to get a hang of what are the different sections in the exam. How much do you need to prepare for which section? What aligns with your strengths and which are the areas that you need to work more on? So during quarantine, you can explore all these things. You can explore what are the different MBA options in India apart from CAT as well. So, for instance, these days you would have heard of other exams like XAT, which is the Xavier's admission test, NMAT, which is the Narsi Monji admission test. There's the symbiosis test as well for SIBM, and then of course you have the GMAT route for ISB. So there are a lot of other MBA options apart from CAT as well that you can sit and explore. You can look at if you want to go for an MBA with a specialization or without a specialization. Although it would also depend upon what kind of a career you seek to pursue beyond that. But it would be a good time to invest on making these decisions. And then once if you're clear that you want to only go for the IIMs, which is where CAT would be very helpful, you can probably start preparing through mock papers and mock exams online. Go through a lot of sample questions, go through a lot of the material that's available for verbal ability, TILR, and so on. And then there are a lot of preparation groups that you can join during quarantine. So, for instance, if you happen to access social media, you would see that there are a lot of Facebook groups, a lot of Facebook pages as well, which are dedicated to CAT preparation. So you can join these. You can practice with people on these platforms, and you can post your questions. You can solve their questions. I think that would also be a very good way to utilize your time during quarantine to prepare for CAT. Okay. Now, due to automation, many jobs will be gone. What's the future of jobs for MBAs in the coming years? I think I've already answered this question in different formats before, but as future of jobs changes in the future, the scope of MBA curriculum will change. The degree would still stay relevant, but what goes inside the degree would evolve over time. In terms of the weightage that's given to strategy versus technology versus finance. So in the future, as we see already, there'll be more prevalence of technology. There'll be more prevalence of digital workplaces. There'll be more scenarios of work from home. You may not be required to go to a physical workplace. You may have to just work from a virtual workplace. So a lot of trends in automation, as you've already mentioned, will evolve. So in that scenario, you would probably need to be very well equipped with technology along with general business management skills, because businesses will continue and businesses would also require you to have a lot of the skills that you already need, be in terms of thinking through strategies, problem solving, be it something like organizational management and human resource management, being it's something like communication or team building. These are skills that will stay forever, that will remain perpetual. But apart from these, you would also need to have a very sound knowledge of trending technologies, softwares, the kind of tools that people use, and you will have to use the general business management skills in the light of evolving workplaces with new technology. So I think that is how MBA as a degree itself will evolve, and that is how the future of jobs will also change with MBA. So the next question is that considering the tough immigration and employment policies in place in many countries in the West, would you still recommend a foreign MBA? Assuming my plan is to settle abroad, what would you recommend? Yes, undoubtedly there are tough immigration and employment policies in the West. But having said that, a foreign MBA, especially from some of the prestigious institutes abroad, gives you a lot of exposure, a lot of good employment opportunities at global firms. And if you want to settle abroad, I think it would be great to have a global MBA, because the Indian MBA degree may not get the same recognition at a global level. At a global level, it would still only be considered an MIM degree and not an MBA degree. So know that an Indian MBA is not treated at par at a global MBA. So if you want to settle abroad, it would definitely be better to have a foreign MBA. But if you want to go for an Indian MBA and then secure a placement at a foreign firm, that would also be a good way to probably go abroad, if that is the eventual end goal or outcome that you wish to seek. So if you want to settle abroad, you could do that through an MBA abroad or through an MBA in India but a job abroad. Those could be two alternatives. The better alternative would be to go for a foreign MBA, because that would also give you a cooling off period in terms of understanding the global culture or the foreign culture wherever you wish to work and settle. It would give you enough time to get a hang of the lifestyle that you need to survive there. And it would also be able to give you the right exposure that you need to work in a global workplace setup. So in the light of that scenario, I would recommend you to go for a foreign MBA. Okay, so I think the questions keep coming, but we are left with probably just 3.5 minutes. So Jatin, if you're online, would you recommend me answering any of these specific questions that are left? Because I think we're a little short on time.
So, like the people who have posted the comments down below, if you have occupied one of the seats, you are more than welcome to now interact with Deepika on over audio. Anusha, I see you posted one. So if you're online, you can talk to Deepika right now. Great.
Perfect.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, so my question was, I have done bachelor's in journalism and mass communication, and if I go for MBA, how can it help me, and what all fields would be better and open for me?
Okay, so if you go for an MBA, you would definitely be able to get access to a lot of consulting roles. Consulting would be a field that is, as I've already mentioned, it's stream agnostic. So that's a field that is open to people from all disciplines. So that is a field that will be open to you. Apart from that, journalism and mass communication will help you a lot with marketing roles, especially brand management roles. So you would be able to apply to a lot of roles in organizations like ITC, P&G, Nestle, Mondelez, and so on. So you would be able to apply to firms in the marketing sphere. You would be able to apply to a lot of firms in the research sphere. For instance, you have firms like Nomura and Gartner, which come for research-based roles. So even in those roles, they look for people with a strong background in communication. So bachelor's in journalism and mass communication can help you there. So I think these are the key fields where you'll be able to make use of an MBA along with your expertise in your undergraduate course. Finance roles and other roles may look for specific expertise in finance. So if you want to still say switch fields, you want to go for a finance role, or you want to go for a specific technology or a broadman role, a product management role, there you may have to invest more time in building those. So I think the mic is on somewhere, if I'm not wrong. I'm able to hear some echoing. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, Anusha, have I been able to answer your question?
I think yes. Deepika, considering the fact that only 30 seconds are left, it would be like the perfect time to acknowledge you coming here, like the gratitude that we have for you since you've taken the time out of your schedule to come here and interact with the users.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, Jatin. If there are more questions, you can forward them to me, and I'll be happy to address them offline through some of the other means. Like I'll be able to answer them through texts or through what